So after you've invited some people to join your organization, you want to start documenting your business processes. Um, keep tuned in. We're going to be putting out some templates to help people set up good processes for their types of business. But this can be anything from people processes, sales process, day-to-day operations. We're a software company, so we use it for new hires. We use it for new contracts. We also use it for deployment checklists for each of our products. So really the sky's the limit. If you can document the steps it takes to do something, you can put it into Delegate. And the way you do that is if you go to the procedures tab here at the top of the page, you'll get a list of all of the existing procedures that you have, as well as a button to create a new procedure at the bottom. So when you hover over a procedure, you can either delete that procedure if you want to get rid of it, or click this little settings cog to go edit the procedure. Let's start with making a new procedure. So when you start with a new procedure, you're going to need three pieces of information. First, you're going to want to name the procedure. So we're going to call this the Delegate Deployment Checklist. And we want to give it a description. So the other people on your team, when they go to start a process, good description helps identify what it is. So these are the steps to take before deploying a new version of the Delegate application. We have this concept in Delegate called an anchor date. You'll see it around. The idea is that all of your processes are going to have tasks in them with due dates. But those due dates, rather than having to go pick them by hand each time, are going to be relative to what we call an anchor date. The anchor date is the date that the process is happening, and your tasks might be some amount of days before or after that anchor date. When you're creating a procedure, you get to change the name of that anchor date. So if it's a new hire process, you probably want an anchor date like date of hire. Then you can set up tasks for however many days are before that date of hire. So in this case, for this checklist, a good name would be deployment date. And we click the Create Procedure button. And now you see the Delegate Deployment Checklist has appeared. The next step you're going to want to do is go in and edit that and add tasks to it. So if I click the gear icon that says Edit this procedure, when I hover over Delegate Deployment Checklist, that's going to take me to the procedure edit screen. You could change the name here, description, or the anchor date. But really what you're wanting to do now is come in and add items to what's ultimately going to become a checklist every time this procedure runs. So we'll start with adding a new item. Click the Add a New Item button. It adds a row, very comparable to like a spreadsheet or something. And then I'm going to pick from a label. We have a couple of labels already defined in the system for you that we find to capture a lot of processes. For this particular checklist, mostly going to be tasks and documentation. And we have features coming soon where you can define your own labels for these. So we'll start with the first task we want to do is we want to tag our release. And that's, for a dev team, you'll understand what that means for sure. It just means that we want to make our code and really identify exactly what set of code is going to be a part of that release. And we're going to assign that to Tyrell Dennison. He's our director of engineering. And we want to get that release tagged at least a day before our deployment so that we have some time to review it. So I've filled out the information I want. If I click the X, it will clear out my changes. If I click the checkbox, it will save the changes. So we click the checkbox. Great, we've added a task. The next task we're going to have is to run a database backup. We don't want to release any code without the potential of destroying some data if we don't have a backup. So we're going to have create a database backup. I'm going to also assign that to our director of engineering. 0 days before or after doesn't matter. Essentially means doing that the day of the release. And just to keep things simple, we'll add one more task. We'll add a documentation step to write release notes. And we'll assign that to Megan, who is our admin assistant. She'll help us compile the release documentation, and we want to do that the day of as well, so 0 days after our deployment date. Check the box. And then lastly, we want to send release notes to our customers. So we want to send an email out saying, here are all the new things we added to the app. Go check it out. Let us know if you have any problems. And we would like to get that out probably within 5 days, a business week after the release. That gives us time to test it ourselves, roll it back if there's a problem. But ultimately, within a week, once we've confirmed everything's working, we want to get those notes out to customers to get feedback. And there it is. We've created a pretty simple 4-step checklist for deploying Delegate.